he can't talk. He talks about how he can't respect people who don't want to leave their towns, because refers to Abraham leaving his town and stuff. Now, this right, I should start off saying I don't agree with a lot of the shit he says. I guess roughly half of it, right, makes sense. The other half, I'm like, no. Like what did he say? What did he say, Chuck, that you don't agree with him on? He said, well, oh yeah, compromises. Compromises are not a good thing. Right, generally speaking, when it comes to like Congress or whatever, I don't agree with that. I'm sure there's, a couple things. Even the 3/5 slave, right? That you can argue that that's bad. I would argue on the contrary, right? Because I know a lot of my friends think it's like, oh yeah, the 3/5 compromise is that's because they only think black people thought black people were 3/5 of a person, but that's my history teacher explained it to me, and I guess we can look this up, the actual definition, or not definition, but the actual reason the 3/5 compromise was made. But basically, what I was told by my history teacher in, what was it, 11th grade or something, was no, the Southerners. Problem with them is, right, was it Congress, the House of Representatives, right? It's based off the population, right? So the Southern people who had slaves wanted to count the slaves as people, and the Northerners were like, hey, fucking hey, what? You don't consider them people, and they're like, we would like to have the fucking, we would like to count them so we can get more power and stuff like that. I don't know. That's what I heard. And, fuck it. I guess we'll Google it. What was the 3/5 compromise? 35 compromise. Yeah. What was the reason I get? The 3/5. Okay, so here we go. This is from Google. Just the first thing, it's top bar from legaldictionary.net. 3/5 compromise was a compromise reached between the northern and southern states of the U.S. in 1999, no, 1787. The compromise was reached during a debate over whether or not slaves should be counted when a state was determining its total number of residents for legislative, what's that say? Legislative and tax purposes. Sorry, just taking notes. Why was it? What would be better to ask? Why was the 3/5 compromise compromise? I don't know. How did they come up with it, right? All right, clicking on the first thing, going to Wikipedia. 3/5 compromise was a compromise reached among dads. So we're on Wikipedia right now. Whether and if so, how slaves would be counted. Okay, so I guess it was a debate. The legislative representation and tax purposes was important. Determine the number of seats that the state would have in the House of Representatives for the next 10 years. The compromise was a count 3 out of every 5 slaves as a person for this purpose. Its effect was to give southern states a third more seats in Congress and a third more electoral votes than if slaves had been ignored, but fewer than if slaves and free people had been counted equally, thus allowing the slaveholder interests to largely dominate the government of the United States until 1861. What was 1861? Was that the war? Did the war end in 1864? Or did it start? When did the Korea War end? Yeah, we looked that up. When did the, what is it? No, not revolution. It was Civil War start. Okay, no, it was 61. So it started April 12, 1861 and ended in 1865. Okay, so good on that. So I guess it gave them a lot of power. The Southern plantation owners, whatever. The compromise was proposed by delegates James Wilson and Roger Sherman. So Roger looks like dad. He looks like he works at a fucking Applebee's as a manager. James Wilson, All right, was one of the founding fathers of the United States and signature. All right, was Roger Sherman. Quick, was an early American statesman. I don't see anything that interesting. Oh, he came up with the Articles of Confederation. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. But you know what? We got it kind of right after that, right? Okay. Right. So what I'm trying to do right now is just figure out if my teacher was right, like how they came up with it, like the reasoning behind it, because the northern people didn't want to count the slaves because it would have given the southern people more power and keep slaves or whatever. Because from what I understood, a lot of northerners were against slavery, but had they not what was it? Had they not compromised, the South would have just become its own country right at the beginning. So they had to kind of work. They're like, okay, you can't count all of them, but you can count some of them, okay? And then they were like, all right, okay, Confederation Congress, Constitutional Convention. Yeah, but when did it impact before Civil War? Gave a disproportionate representative of slave states in the South relative order up until America's Civil War in 1793. However, Southern slave states had 47 of 105 members, but would have had 33 had seats been assigned based on free populations. Oh, I'm thinking of 1893. No, it's 1793. That's what I was 100 years before slaves freed. No, a little less. Okay. In 1812, slave states had 67. Wow, that actually adds a lot. So, out of 105 members, they were supposed to have a third of that, 33, but they have 47. Fuck. They had a lot of fucking slaves. After Civil War, well, shit, I want to know. I want to know how they came up with it. Fucking Jesus. An amendment was to have changed based on the wealth of each state. Fuck. This is not... Okay, I guess we're done with Wikipedia. 14 minutes, okay. Whatever. I was supposed to be talking about oil rigs, but whatever. How long do I want to go on? I wanted to shoot for 17 minutes, right? Just so I could slowly build up, because eventually I want to be doing these for 2 hours or whatever, as long as it interests me while I'm doing it. But I guess this is the slave one, right? 3/5 compromise. I guess we're just fucking talking about this today. Okay, 3/5 compromise, constitution.laws.com, 3/5 compromise, rationalizing the irrational from the constitutioncenter.org. Okay, let's check that out. All right, rationalize the irrational. Okay, hit me up. What are we at right now? 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay. Well, I am. You guys, a couple seconds beyond that. Okay, on this date, defending the portion of the Constitution that counted slaves in 1787, whatever, 3/5 of a person during the Constitution Convention, 1787, as delegates were considering how to allot representation, the question arose, how to count slave population? I just sounded fucking Russian. Eastern, how to count slave population, eh? Southern states were fearful that they would be overwhelmed in the House by large states, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Wasn't Virginia, that was considered a southern state? Fucking George Washington was from there, right? George Washington, where was he born? Hey, Google, stop. Okay, let me write that down. So we got that. Hey, Google, cancel my other alarm.
If you just asked to cancel an alarm, there are none set at the moment.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good. No, he was born in Virginia, right? Okay. So he was born in Virginia. I thought that was considered a slave southern state back then. Because they had slaves, I think. I'm too lazy to look that up. To increase the representation, the southern states wanted their large number of slaves to be included in the population count. Of course, the large states did not want to relinquish their numerical advantage in the House. Many delegates argued slaves should not be counted at all. After all, they said slaves are property, not persons. Yeah, The result of the debate set in Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution was a compromise, incorporating ideas of both property and person. Fuck, I mean, you want to... Damn. Like, I get why you'd want to count them, because you get more power, but how do you rationalize that? That's what I'm trying to fucking figure out. And excluding Indians not taxed. What? Oh, population would be calculated by adding, quote, the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, plus 3/5 of all other persons. Those other persons, of course, were slaves. Oh, I guess that's how you can get around that. You don't have to say slaves. You can just say other persons. Right? Which is why I keep fucking saying, right? People don't want... Hey, Google. Stop. Didn't I just ask it if it had a fucking timer? And it was like, no, I don't have a timer. Jesus Christ. Okay. What the fuck was I talking about? What were we at? 18 minutes? God damn it. I want to figure this out. I'm going to try to figure this out, the reason behind it, how you can just, rationalize it. Okay, which was likely authorized, the Federalist number 55, It may also have been Alexander, offers a sense of how mightily Madison struggled to justify the irrationality of the 3/5 rule. Oh, so I guess Alexander Hamilton, no. It was written by James Madison. It may also have been Alexander Hamilton. You guys don't... Shit, that's about to fall. Sorry. Something in my room. It's just about to fall over. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Federalist number 54, I guess, paper. So it was either written by James Madison or Alexander Hamilton, the guy who made the bank, right? So one of them wrote it, justify enslaved persons. In truth, it was a political deal that many delegates felt was essential to preserving the Union. Though Madison was a slaveholder, he felt deeply conflicted about slavery, as shown in much of his writings. Yeah, I know somebody was freaking out about that. But he was a strong advocate of the Constitution, so he felt obligated to defend even the 3/5 rule. All right, because he wanted other slaveholders to appreciate that dilemma, he wrote that... Sorry about that. Oh, actually got something to drink. He wrote that his Southern brethren might say that representation relates more to persons and taxation more immediately to property, and we join in the application of this distinction to the case of our slaves. I have no idea what the fuck that means. Let me try to read that again, so anybody out there with some more brain cells can figure out what that means. Okay, he wrote that his Southern brethren might say that representation relates more to persons and taxation more immediately to property, and we join in the application of this distinction to the case of our slaves. What the fuck does that even mean? Jesus, talk about prevaricate. All right. Then lists some aspects of slaves that support the argument that they should be considered property. Their labor was compelled for a master. They were sellable from one master to another. And okay, so I'm not understanding this. Is he defending slavery? Is he defending not having slaves? Is he saying they shouldn't be counted, or is he defending the 3/5 compromise? From what I understand, he's defending the 3/5 compromise more so than anything else. Okay, I might be wrong. Right, what are we on again? We're on constitutioncenter.org. Okay. Much like animals, which under the law were considered property. Okay, at the same time, Madison recognized that under the law, slaves' lives were protected against bodily harm. Really? I can find some people to beg to differ. All right, they could be punished for doing harm to others. They were not irrational creatures. not an irrational creature, such as a domesticated animal, and they were seen by the law as a member of society. Hence, slaves were also persons. Okay. I, I, mm, I don't know what to think about that. Madison concludes that because of these mixed characteristics, the Constitution should treat slaves as both persons and properties. Okay. Okay. So that kind of gives me some reference, right? I'm not saying it was a good thing. Actually, I am saying it was a good thing. It was the best, it was the least shittiest choice for the time, right? Otherwise, from what I understand, was told the southern states would have, became their own place, and then, how would life be then, right? So, I guess I'm about done with this website. I don't know if you guys want to read it. What is it? It is the Three-Fifths Compromise, Rationalizing the Irrational on constitutioncenter.org. So, you guys want to read the rest of that, go right ahead. I only go as far as I fucking wanna. So, okay, right. So I guess where we at? 23 minutes. Okay, so basically, from what I understand, he's like, yo, they do both things, right? They can talk, but they can also do shit animals do, right? Move shit, do that. So they kind of have qualities of a person, and they kind of also have qualities of domestic animals, right? So you should take both of those things in account. I guess you can rationalize that, it's just they still can't vote. I mean, they can't vote, but women could vote either, right? And they counted women. But yeah, you're gonna fucking at least consider what the fuck your wife says, right? Right. So I guess there's some reference. Sorry if I come off a little racist, I guess I am sometimes, I don't try to be. It's just kind of a side effect of living in America. Sometimes you just look at a black person, you think some fucked up shit, and you're like, no. Conscious part, you's like, hey, come on, no, give them the benefit of the doubt. But